Welcome to ASB223, Lost Tribes and Buried Cities of the Americas. In this class, we will review the archaeology of the Americas, from the earliest colonists about 15,000 years ago, who arrived from Asia via the Bering Land Bridge, or along the coast, through the evolution of early tribal societies, chiefdoms, eventually the emergence of city-states and empires. This is a large area to cover, half the world in fact, and so we will not be able to cover all areas in depth. Rather, we will choose a series of case studies that allow us to understand the process of social change and the evolution of political and economic systems, and how archaeology helps us understand the past. Since this is a large and diverse area, one of the first assignments is a geography quiz to help you learn the geography of this hemisphere, the boundaries of modern nations, as well as the locations of various physiographic features like rivers, lakes, mountains, and deserts. In this class, you will learn how prehistoric peoples of the Americas developed sophisticated technological and cultural adaptations to a variety of environmental and social challenges, and we will learn how archaeology is a multidisciplinary science. It integrates the discipline of anthropology with other disciplines like biology, chemistry, geology, and physics in order to study the human past. We will examine the following major themes of cultural adaptation and change. We will look at the human colonization of the Americas that began about 15,000 years ago, as early human populations from Northeast Asia crossed into the Americas via the Bering Land Bridge or along the coast of this land bridge. This was during the Ice Age, and these were hunters of extinct megafauna like mammoth and mastodon. They had very sophisticated stone tool technologies, and we will also investigate the genetics of these early populations. With the change from the Ice Age to the period of modern climate and the development of modern ecosystems, human societies adapted to these, but these were still hunters and gatherers. They did not have domesticated crops or domesticated animals. So we will look how people made a living as hunters and gatherers, looking at case studies from here in the American Southwest and from the Pacific coast. We will learn that hunter-gatherers did not live a hand-to-mouth existence, constantly struggling to survive, but rather, in many cases, where they had knowledge of reliable, productive, and predictable resources, they could develop sophisticated and complex societies. We will learn about one of the key turning points in human history, when humans domesticated certain species of plants and animals and transformed them to better suit our needs. The domestication of plants and animals also led to the domestication of human societies, population growth, sedentism, and the emergence of villages, then cities. So this is a key turning point in human history that we will examine. Following the domestication of plants and animals, populations grew. People settled down into larger and larger communities, and this led to the emergence of complex societies with economic specialization, social differentiation, and political centralization. These complex societies developed in different locations and in response to similar circumstances, and we will look at a series of case studies to understand this process. We will look at emerging complexity in the eastern woodlands of the United States, with the Hopewell and other woodland cultures, sometimes referred to as the mound builders. These peoples cultivated indigenous domesticates, but still relied a lot on foraging for wild plants and animals. And they developed sophisticated ritual and exchange systems to integrate communities across wide areas. During the subsequent Mississippian period, the introduction of corn fueled large population growth and the development of ranked social systems, intensified warfare between communities that we will look at in order to understand the emergence of social differentiation. We'll examine the local population of the mesa area, the Hohokam, people who lived in the desert southwest but grew crops in irrigated fields. We'll examine these irrigation systems and how they were constructed and managed, and we'll also look at systems of exchange for resources like marine shell, materials that could be transformed into flakestone tools, but most importantly, exchange of pottery. We will look at how the Hohokam social systems changed from the pre-classic to classic periods, suggesting increasing social differentiation. The Hohokam are well known for their sophisticated irrigation systems, and we will look at these in detail in order to understand how prehistoric occupants of the Phoenix Basin transformed the desert to suit their needs. We will then look at the emergence of state-level systems of organization and compare the emergence in two different areas, in South America and in Mesoamerica. When looking at South America, we will look how the difficult desert environment and the needs of irrigation agriculture led to competition for control of these circumscribed resources, and how warfare played an important role in the emergence of states. In contrast, in the Olmec region of Mesoamerica, the emergence of states occurred in a very rich environment where there were no limits on the availability of agricultural land. Rather, the control of trade for exotic, rare resources from outside the region seems to have been a driver for the emergence of social complexity. We will explore state-level organization with two case studies in Mesoamerica, one looking at Teotihuacan, one of the largest and earliest urban centers in Mesoamerica. We will look how Teotihuacan grew and how it drew populations from the wider region. We will also look at the Maya region and understand the nature of dynastic politics and the limitations placed on the Maya by their local environment. With the emergence of states, new needs for managing information and keeping track of time emerged, and we will look at new systems of writing that were developed and methods of reckoning time through calendars. Empires are large states that are created through the conquest of other states in order to control their territories and resources. We will look at two different ancient empires in Mesoamerica and South America and compare and contrast their development. First, we will look at the Aztec in Mesoamerica. The Aztec emerged in the Valley of Mexico. Their capital, Tenochtitlan, was where modern-day Mexico City stands, and they expanded from the Valley of Mexico to control territory that reached from the Gulf of Mexico on the east to the Pacific Ocean on the west, integrating many different ethnic groups and also many different environments with different productive capacities. In South America, there were several different episodes of empire building, and we will focus on the last, the Inca, and how, like the Aztec, they expanded from a highland center to incorporate territories that included different environmental zones with different productive capacities. But we will contrast the strategies used by the Inca with those that were used by the Aztec. Most importantly, we will look at how archaeologists gather evidence and use different types of evidence in order to interpret and understand the past. Here in this Calvin and Hobbes strip, Calvin is digging a hole. "Why are you digging a hole?" asks Hobbes. "I'm looking for buried treasure." "What have you found?" "A few dirty rocks, a weird root, and some disgusting grubs." "On your first try?" "Yes, there's treasure everywhere." And for archaeologists, like the young Calvin, even dirty rocks, weird roots, and disgusting grubs can provide important evidence about the past. One thing we will not talk about is aliens. To claim that prehistoric cultures could not create pyramids or other monumental architecture without the assistance of aliens and their advanced technology demeans the ingenuity and skill of our human ancestors. This piece of prehistoric Mayan art does not depict a spaceship. We must interpret prehistoric artifacts within their cultural context and not interpret them within the context of our own fantasies about alien visitation. This shows the sarcophagus lid of King Pakal of Palenque oriented in the proper direction. It depicts Pakal after death and his descent into the underworld. This is the lid of the sarcophagus, the stone coffin that contained his body within his tomb under his pyramid. It shows Pakal's body and soul descending the tree of life down into the great maw of the underworld, going to the afterlife, and the celestial bird sits above looking down on the scene. The scene is framed by a sky band with day, night, sun, and moon signs that symbolize death and movement to the underworld. The scene is also viewed by 6th generation of Pakal's ancestors, the named past kings of Palenque, who view his descent and await his arrival in the underworld to join them. The course requirements include viewing these online lectures, reading the assigned materials that are posted on Canvas, and viewing the online videos that links are provided on Canvas. There is the geography quiz, and there is also a foraging exercise where you will apply the knowledge that you learn when we study the foragers of the American Southwest. You will explore your own local environment to identify edible wild plants. There are 2 reading response essays. For 2 of the readings, you will identify the argument the author is presenting and evaluate the evidence that they use to support it. There are also unit discussion questions, 1 for each of the 5 units within the class, where you will answer questions and also engage in discussion with a group of your online classmates. I am your instructor, Michael O'Hara. I have taught here at MCC in a part-time or full-time setting since 2008. I received my PhD from ASU in 2015 and my MA from NAU in 1998. I specialize in southwestern archaeology, and I have 20 years' experience working in this area. I have worked in a variety of settings, including the Museum of Northern Arizona, several different environmental consulting firms, and even nonprofits like the Grand Canyon Trust and the Kaibab-Vermilion Cliffs Heritage Alliance. I have taught at ASU, NAU, and here at MCC. My own personal research focuses on climate, conflict, and political and religious organization, specifically in the Flagstaff region of the American Southwest. If you are going to contact me with questions about the class, please use the email in Canvas, because this groups all of your communications by class. I hope you enjoy this class, and I hope that you learn a lot from it.